So the Stallions move on now. They're 3-1 on the season. Next game will be at Birmingham this coming Saturday, and that starts a difficult stretch for the Stallions. 3 games in the next 8 days for Baltimore. Meanwhile, the next home game will be August 12th. That'll be against Memphis. 1 week later, August 19th, a very exciting Kung Fu Championship tournament coming to the Baltimore Arena. It is the 1995 Wushu-Kungfu tournament, and it is sponsored by the USAWKF. Joining us now is the president, Anthony Goh, and the public relations person, Steve Hamilton, to tell us a little bit about this tournament. And gentlemen, it's nice to have you on the show, and both of you welcome to City Sports Scene. Anthony, we'll start with you first as president of the organization. For a moment, let's just forget about the tournament, and let's talk a little bit about the sport. How is Kung Fu growing in this country right now?
Kung Fu, and like every style of martial art, is growing rapidly in this country since 1990. The growing rate for the martial arts has been increased 10 to 14% yearly. In the state of Maryland, our martial arts schools has about 176 schools, and it's still growing every year.
Right. And Steve, I know that in any sport that begins in this country or begins to gain popularity, it comes from kids. It comes from children. You wean them on it when they're young, they grow up with it, and then they pass it on to the next generation. What is in it for children? Why do they love this sport?
Well, there's a number of items. First of all, discipline. They learn a lot about discipline and self-respect, as well as respecting others. Obviously, you have the physical attributes, as well as the enhancement in flexibility. But I think the number one thing would probably be discipline and self-respect. You yourself are a native of Malaysia. This is the first time that this tournament will be coming to this country. Why take it from, Japan or Malaysia, where it was probably born and nurtured for many, many years, and now bring it to the Western civilization?
The IWF, this sport is actually hosted by IWF and organized by USAWKF. IWF have hosted the first one in Beijing in 1991 with 38 countries participated. Second time was in Malaysia. I'm a Chinese Malaysian, I'm Chinese born in Malaysia, and I went to bid for it. The reason, one of the strong points I say that in order to make the sport internationally, we have to get it outside of Asia, which is very strong, and actually a part of Asian game. That's the reason.
Right. And why Baltimore necessarily? Not only for this tournament, but your organization's headquarters are right here in the city.
15 years ago, when I came to Baltimore, I fell in love with the harbor. So I have decided to move from Virginia to Baltimore. And for the last 15 years, I've been teaching in Baltimore, and I've been to the art for the 30 years. And for the last 10 years, I've been very active in promoting the art nationally. 2 years ago, when we inaugurated the Federation, which now we have an organization that officially represents our sport and network with 71 countries. Right. And that's why it's in Baltimore, and we have run a lot of events in Baltimore. I have presented the facility, the transportation system, the arena, the hotel rooms, like 5,000 hotel rooms within 10 blocks, before representatives from 50 countries and convinced them this is a good place to host such a world-class event.
Were there any other cities involved? I mean, did you look at New York or, wherever else might have been?
Not really at that time, because I have run event at the convention center for the last 4 or 5 years, and I'm pretty confident that this city is good enough to host such a world-class event.
Now, this tournament will be coming August 19th, as we mentioned, so it's about 3 weeks away or so. Steve, from a PR standpoint, how's it going? What are you guys doing right now to get the word out that this is coming here?
Well, we're obviously the last 3 weeks to a month of the, before the event is where you get the greatest noise level. We have tons of posters everywhere. We're going to start some TV and radio advertisements. It's inside Kung Fu magazine. We've actually sent out to 83,000 people, I believe, with advertisements. So we're starting to really increase the noise level.
Right. Now, what will we see? That is the question that people are probably going to want to have answered here on the program. We have a little bit of a film video here that Anthony has been so gracious to bring us. Anthony, why don't you just talk over some of the competitions that we're seeing here?
Right now, this is a member of the US team, Woody Wong from California. In fact, all the US team members are training down here in Baltimore. They're doing a routine. This is now a 2-minute set. And the routine emphasizes a lot of athlete skills and complexity of the technique based on martial arts skills. What you see is a 2-minute set right now. And about 15 years ago, China has developed a compulsory routine for the martial arts so that these techniques can be performed and compete on an international stage. What you see now here is a Tai Chi form. This lady is a 3-time national champion in China. Very soft, yet at a certain time it generates strength and power. And body coordination is very, very important. That's one of the most difficult parts for Americans, is the whole body coordination that it takes. And this is a chain style Tai Chi.
Now, we see in these kind of competitions, they're artistic types of things. Will we see any combative, two people squaring up against one another in competition?
Yes. The main competition will divide it into 2 categories. One is the performing, like we just seen earlier, and this one is the full contact. 2 persons will be fighting with the techniques with rules. They allow kicks, punching, and throwing, and it will be set on a 8-meter square stage with 2 feet high. It was based on the history that in the old days when the martial artists challenge each other, they put on the stage, whatever follow the stage will be the loser.
Right.
So we're using that by adding a lot of safety rules with the matches and everything, rules that you cannot hit continuously to the face by only 1 punch, and then you have to use kicks and throws. So actually it's very safe.
A 2-part question on the participants in the tournament. Have they already been selected? In other words, is the registration for the tournament not open anymore?
Yes, the registration has closed for official championships. There might be still some people coming in for demonstrations. So far, 880 people from 56 countries has registered.
Okay, and as far as the United States is concerned, can you break down how many of those participants are from this country?
For the United States, like everyone else, we allow 8 athletes on performing on a routine and 5 full contact fighters. So it's 13 plus will be a team leader, a doctor, and 2 coaches, 1 for the performing and 1 for the fighting. So 17, the average number.
Now, in talking to both of you, and I'll direct this question to Steve, before the show today, we were talking about the media involved and how the papers in China have picked up on the fact that the World Championships are here in Baltimore. It's been advertised extensively there. We hope to get a lot of people to come from there. What about the media here in Baltimore, Steve? Do you think the local paper is going to pick up on it? Have you been trying to make any plans with the local radio or TV people to come on out and show some of the events?
Well, we certainly hope to get considerable local coverage. Obviously, again, the closer we get to the event, the more interested the local media will become, especially if there are some local participants. They typically wanted to take a look at it from a local interest.
Now, you yourself have been practicing for about 1.5 years or 2 years now. How did you get into the PR aspect? Was it just simply you wanting to give something back to the sport, or you're taking a very definite interest in it and maybe taking it to a higher level?
No, just giving something back, just volunteer. One thing we didn't mention earlier, Anthony Goh, who's actually our teacher, we call him Sifu, which means teacher in Chinese. It's just something we wanted to do to give back something.
From a personal standpoint, why did you get involved a couple of years ago?
Recreational, some sort of form of exercise, something that I enjoy doing. Also, you get an opportunity to meet a lot of people, good people. So it's a general philosophy associated with the arts as well.
Right. Anthony, from a sport perspective, we know the popularity of soccer worldwide. There's no question it's probably the world's most watched sport. Can you see something similar happening to Kung Fu, or is it just a different area of sport?
I think that the sport of Kung Fu has so much to offer that if you look at the numbers, right now it's over 2 million people practicing martial arts. In fact, I think the number of people of practicing martial arts in this country has more than gymnastics, even though gymnastics might be more popular on TV. I believe, and I strongly believe that's working so hard on it, is that this sport can become very popular, almost like a household, a family sport, especially it has changed so much, it's very safe for practice, and people have learned so much. And I think for international competition, that's the way to go on the 21st century for the sport worldwide.
Right. Now, 1936 will always be remembered as the year that Jesse Owens ran to glory as far as the Olympics were concerned. It'll also be remembered as the year that Kung Fu was first demonstrated on the Olympic level. Is it now an Olympic sport 60 years later? And if not, will it be shortly?
The IWF is working very hard to make it an Olympic sport, and think the minimum requirement is 75 countries in 4 continents. We're getting very close. Right now we have 71 country members, so we're working on it, and I think the success of this event will also contribute to the confidence of the world that this can become an Olympic sport.
Steve, what are you expecting? Anthony just mentioned the success of the event. What makes this a successful event when all is said and done?
Well, obviously the participation, the greater the amount of participation we get from various countries, the more enhance our reputation here locally. And when I say locally, United States, so because it was in fact a considerable effort for seafood, as I call them, to get to host the event. So obviously that's going to be a major thing to look at, as well as local involvement. It's a big thing to have 70 countries coming to Baltimore, and we think it's a good opportunity for Baltimore to shine. So if we can get total participation, that would be great. What's the reception been as far as the corporate community is concerned? Have you, gone for sponsorships and talked to some business leaders as well? I think it's been fairly slow. I don't think the understanding of the art exists the way we would like it to. But we're optimistic that we'll be able to pull something through. And that brings up a good point, Anthony, actually. How do you get the corporate community to really understand what is going on here?
We had, in fact, in the beginning, we did have a little difficult time on Wushu and Kung Fu. I think it does not get the kind of national attentions as the other sport like football or softball. We did have some difficulties in getting sponsorships or the business, local business attention. We're doing fine now that this event will go on fine with not the major sponsors, because we have actually cut some of the budgets and to make it a good event. We plan that this successful event will probably make it easier the next time when we have another event, but right now really we're concentrating on managing the event to make it a successful event, and we will plan to have more an aggressive commercials and advertising campaign for the next 3 weeks to make it a successful event.
What about the martial art in general as we approach the year 2000? And there you see the poster that the organization has made up for the 95 championships here in Baltimore. As we enter the 21st century, what plans are there? Further expansion in the United States, creating more interest? I take it that this country is where you want to begin to generate all that.
Right now, U.S. has the fastest growing rate of people participating in martial arts in the world. I think that our organization is very interested in making it. Right now we have 8 regions nationally, and then we're trying to develop offices in different states. And I think we still need to work a lot, and it probably take us another 3 years to set the groundwork, whether, as a standard operations nationwide. But I think at this point, U.S. has the strongest, whether it's an organization or the skill level. There's a lot of good people in this country that that's working this profession. I think we're going to take a leading role in the West.
And Steve, from a personal standpoint, in the year and a half or 2 years that you've actually been participating, how have you seen it grow? Has your class increased? Have more people, start to come to the location where you practice? Has interest begin to have generated?
Yes, to most of those questions. One of the things I've noticed since I've been involved in school, you typically have those who are fully committed, sort of a core group. I mean, people come and go over the course of time. Those who are truly committed, and I think our school is fortunate that we do have a fairly large group of people who are truly, truly committed, who would, like me, volunteer and go at least 3 to 4 times a week. That group is there, and I think it's going to continue to be there, and those are the people that you get to know.
When do you get to the point, Anthony, where the teachers of the sport are American, or maybe I'm presumptuous, maybe they are American today, I just take it that they're from the Far Eastern descent?
At this point, a lot more leading teachers are Asians. I think it's still in a step of transaction right now. I think 5 to 10 years, and that's why we're working very hard, that eventually the Americans should also become the leading teachers in the country. I think in about 5 or 10 years after we have worked on it.
As we near the year 2000. Gentlemen, we thank you very much for joining us, and we look forward to the championships.
Thank you very much.
And let us give the phone number, by the way, and here it is, at the Baltimore Arena, August 19th through the 22nd, the World Wushu Championships. There it is, 1-800 Wushu 95 for more ticket information, and that certainly will be a very worthwhile event coming up in about 3 weeks here in town. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us. We look forward to a successful event. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anthony Goh, the president, Steve Hamilton in public relations for the 95 championships here in Baltimore. And that'll do it for another edition of City Sports Scene. We thank you for joining us. As we go today, let's take a look at the special teams play of the Stallions, Chris Wright. We'll see you next week.